4-0 in 2024. All today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, be sure to check out the SiriusXM app. You can listen to the Detroit Tigers anytime, anywhere, straight from the SiriusXM app. And the Detroit Tigers are 4-0 on the young season after a 5-0 victory over the New York Mets in Queens. A fantastic way to pull it out. Wasn't the prettiest win, certainly. We have a lot to discuss on this one. There's plenty that went right, plenty that went wrong. As you could imagine, if you've been following the team for the last a while now, and if you just watch this ball game, a lot of what went right on the pitching side of things, a lot of what went wrong on the hitting side of things. Okay, outside of one just beautiful catcher that had a heck of a just absolute tank in this ball game, obviously Carson Kelly. So let's start with what went right. I think that's kind of how we're gonna break down a lot of these, rather than just going chronologically inning by inning and just kind of regurgitating the game you just watched. I want to break down what went right in the game and what went wrong in the game. And then we are going to call all the leftovers just stuff. It's super creative name. Thank you. I'm often complimented on my creative genius. But we are going to call that just stuff. And we're going to talk about that. Anything that doesn't fall into those two categories necessarily at the end. So let's start with what went right. Reese Olson, I think, went right in this game. 5 2/3, 3 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, just the 3 strikeouts. I say just the 3 because he has such good stuff and such good swing and miss stuff that I think we have come to already in his young career almost expect more of a swing and miss performance. Now, his command early in this ball game was pretty rough. He was all over the place, the first inning especially, but really the first 2 innings, I guess I want to say. He had a huge double play. Was that the first or the second inning? He had a huge double play to get out of that, but he settled in relatively nicely as the game went along. The slider and changeup both specifically were much better, again, as the start went along. That slider, just we know that is his biggest weapon, that is always going to be a huge weapon for him. And so, but the changeup, he threw more than any other pitch. And I really liked what I saw out of that. AJ Hinch talked about it in spring training. His stuff is so good and he has such a high ceiling because he can throw any type of pitch in any count, right? There are so many guys we talked about. We used to talk about it all the time with Michael Lorenzen last year, but there's even plenty of guys on the team this year just around baseball that majority, I would say, of pitchers around baseball have a certain repertoire they're comfortable throwing to righties and a certain they're comfortable throwing to lefties. And so having a guy like that who has good enough stuff where the coaching staff, the catcher, and Reese Olson himself are comfortable throwing it to kind of all handness, no matter all of his repertoire to either handness, is really valuable. So, again, started off kind of slow all over the place, but by the end there, the slider and the changeup, especially more than anything else, really did settle in pretty darn nicely. We're going to keep bringing this up because it's something that was probably the biggest talking point for me in my head with Reese Olson last year, and I think has now carried over into this season as well, and that's just the effectiveness of the fastball. Again, if you're a longtime listener, you've heard me give this spiel a million times. His fastball in this game, despite sitting 95 miles an hour and having tailing movement on it, had a 100% zone contact percentage and 0 whiffs. That means that every single fastball that was in the strike zone in this game was made contact with, that was swung at, obviously. So, and again, 0 whiffs, doesn't matter where it was, just did not get a single swing and a miss on the fastball this entire game. And I think that kind of the perfect epitome of what I think Reese Olson can tap into to unlock that next level is his final at bat. Is the at bat that got him inevitably pulled from the game. Again, he went 5 2/3, but the Alvarez AB, right? The last batter he faced, full count, gave him the kitchen sink, threw a lot of sliders in that one. I think he threw one changeup, and then full count, he goes fastball, caught way too much of the plate. I don't think he meant to throw it, kind of middle is where it ended up. I doubt he meant to put it exactly there, but threw a fastball to a guy who hits the ball really hard, right over the heart of the plate, and it was a very hard hit ball past Javi into left center field for a single, and that got him pulled. And I think that those situations, that is the epitome of why we need to see a step taken forward with his fastball if he wants to be that like mid or even upper rotation caliber of starting pitcher. We know the slider's great, okay? We know the changeup is really solid. We know his breaking stuff dances, okay? We are aware of how nasty his stuff is. There's no reason that his fastball, again, that tails and goes 95 miles an hour should be as ineffective in terms of getting swings and misses as his has been so far in his major league career. So again, people don't like crush his fastball. It's not like it's not Joey Wentz, not to kick Joey Wentz randomly for no reason, but it's not like that where everybody just crushes it. He doesn't have the ability to get too many strikes with it. And I think that is really the thing that's going to take him to the next level once he consistently is able to do that. But again, the stuff is so good. I don't know if I said his line: 5 2/3, 3 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, 3 Ks. I definitely did. I'm just now remembering. Again, the continued fastball effectiveness. But even despite everything that we just talked about, he still went. He was a pitch away from going 6 shutout, and he went 5 2/3 of shutout ball with just 5 base runners. That's not like a beautiful display by any stretch, but kept them off where it counted, and that was in the run scoring column. So yeah, again, command weird early, still waiting on a kind of a really, really effective heater, but even despite all of those things, still went out there, settled in really nicely, looked much, much better the second time through the lineup. And that secondary stuff is going to be his best friend and is very clearly why he made this roster. Okay, so I guess a little bit of things that went right and things that went wrong in that conversation. But as a whole, obviously almost 6 innings of shutout ball, fantastic performance, great way to start the season. And hopefully he can build on this and we can kind of, see him progress as the season goes along. I also think Alex Faedo is someone or something that definitely went right in this ball game. We will talk about that right after this. Going to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Fire TV. Fire TV is your destination for sports, live games, highlights, and in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing television and provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or the college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. Also, because Fire TV recently created the Fire TV Channels app to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us here at Locked On, first and foremost, most importantly, right? But also as most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV Channels lets you dive into all of the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date in the latest in the world of sports. March Madness, NBA, MLB, so much more, not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking channels as well. So check out Fire TV Channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV Channels, you should. Trust me on this one. To learn more, visit www.lockedonfiretv. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate you all so much for tuning in, as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will probably be back tomorrow. A lot of rain on the forecast. I'm sure we can find something to talk about on a rainy day. If there is a rain out, we'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. Also, be sure to check out Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming that maybe Fox Sports or ESPN provides you on a day-to-day basis. So check it out on YouTube or for free in the Amazon Fire TV channels app. So talking about what went right in this ball game, Alex Faedo certainly belongs in this conversation. 2 innings, 1 hit, no earned runs, 1 walk, and 3 strikeouts. Look, the slider we've known, right? We have known for a while since he was at Florida that the slider was going to be a weapon and was his bread and butter. And in this outing, it was no different. The slider was absolutely fantastic. But this year, he's featuring a new changeup grip. And the big question surrounding Faedo for years now has been, can he legitimately get a third pitch? That's a big question, right? We know the slider. Obviously, he's got a solid, mid-90s heater. Nothing crazy nice, but it's certainly not a bad pitch to offer as well. Is he going to have a third pitch, especially, again, when he faces lefties, just because he's a slider fastball guy? This changeup was moving really well. I thought it looked absolutely fantastic. He got a couple of whiffs on it. Again, 2 lefties. Forget who it was. It might have been Wendell. But regardless, really, really, threw it in high leverage, low and away, tailing away from lefties, as well as obviously dropping vertically, was fantastic. And I think that that actually does. I'm saying this for the first time. We've been talking about it for like 5 or 6 years now in Faedo's repertoire. Now in 2024, I'm finally saying it, that I am very optimistic about what that changeup can be for him going forward. And that's absolutely awesome. So 2 thumbs up there as well. Jason Foley, certainly something that went right in this ballgame. 1 inning, 1 hit, no earned runs, no walks, and 2 strikeouts. He is him. That's really like the biggest thing. I have just absolutely loved this dude since he was the 5th or 6th inning guy, in 2021. Was that when that was? 2022, 2021, maybe 2022. Regardless, his first year up when he was, the bridge guy and was the first out of the pen guy because he could get some ground balls and whatnot. And now every single year, right? We've just been talking about how much of a fan I am of his and how much the fan base is starting to realize how valuable he is to this team. And now he's just going out there, and we're 2 outings into, he's thrown 2 1/3 innings so far in the season. I'm not trying to jump the gun or anything, but we are seeing him actually legitimately be able to not only just fill the strike zone and induce weak contact, like we know he obviously can, but also to get strikes, consistently get strikes, whether it's swinging misses or called strikes, regardless. He's so fun to watch. He's so fun to watch. He looks absolutely incredible. 101 mile an hour sinkers. Again, actually just getting called strikes or whiffs. It's phenomenal to see. The usage I thought was interesting as well. Benetti made a comment about it actually on the broadcast, how because there is rain the next 2 days, and those 2 games are both iffy to even be played, maybe that this was a game in which Foley he didn't want to use or wouldn't have used, but because we may have the next 2 days off and then a scheduled off day on Thursday, it might be a while till Foley has an opportunity to pitch again. So regardless of the reasoning, glad he pitched in this game, and was obviously a big reason as to why the Tigers won. Carson Kelly, something that went very right in this ball game. 1 for 3 with the big home run in extras, drew a walk as well. We'll talk about him getting thrown at the plate later. That's going to be in stuff. Our first 2 catcher lineup of the season. This is something that Hinch alluded to and talked about the potential for seeing this season, especially early on in the year. It's not going to happen against righties ever, but against lefties, Carson Kelly's career numbers against lefties are phenomenal. OPS well over 800. We know that Jake Rogers certainly is better against lefties as well. So Rogers went 0 for. Carson Kelly, again, got on base twice, one of those being the big home run late. But I'll be interested in seeing if that lasts. Like, the offense as a whole in this game obviously was not good. They got shut out through 9 innings. So this was not some offensive masterclass. We'll talk about that in what went wrong. But I am interested in how many opportunities both of them are going to get. I think it might be an early in the season thing until one of them or both of them, right? If they both are hitting really well, then yes, obviously keep putting two guys that are hitting well in the lineup every night, especially against their specialty. But I am interested in, if Jake Rogers gets off to a slow start. He has the one hit on the year. It's the homer. Like, if he gets off to a slow start, are we just going to see Kelly more just straight up? Because he looked great behind the dish yet again. And he is swinging a very hot stick, which not too many players on the Tigers can really say up to this point. Mark Canha, somebody that I think can say that, though, went 0 for, but did draw a walk and got hit by a pitch. So still on base twice. Something really funny. Go look up Mark Canha hit by pitch numbers. This dude loves getting plunked, and it's just part of his game and something that he's always really, for a few years now, excelled at. So yeah, any way to get on base is really Mark Canha's mindset, I think. And even the walk he drew, I think that was an 0-2 count again. He already has multiple 0-2 counts that turned into walks on the season, and we're 4 games in. Again, this is why you brought him in. This guy just gets on base. Okay, let's talk about what went wrong. The offense certainly is probably the poster child for what went wrong in this game. The lineup was made to hit lefties that threw a lot of fastballs. You had no Parker, you had no Colt Keith, you had no Kerry Carpenter, obviously. This, and we already alluded and talked about, rather, the two catcher situation. This lineup was made for, like, Andy Ibanez played, right? Like, this was made for, Veerling was leadoff, etc., for Manaya's profile. And they got absolutely diced. He used, 65% four-seam fastballs and just absolutely carved you up. Jake Rogers specifically, you do the two catcher thing because Jake Rogers hits lefties that throw fastballs. Last season, we talked about in the player preview, right, in spring training, that is his thing. He crushes left-handed pitchers that throw heat. And for him to take, in that one at-bat, he took 2 fastballs in the zone, didn't swing at them. They're on the inside half of the plate. But him staring at 2 fastballs from a lefty to get a strikeout wasn't exactly the greatest thing to see in the world, given the lineup construction. So very frustrating. And just as a whole, I'm not trying to I said it yesterday, right? Like, we are not going to apologize or not be happy about wins in April. Okay. Wins, period, but especially in April. This team does not get off to good starts in the Hinch era, and they're 4-0. We're going to take it and run, okay? I'm not trying to be like a Debbie Downer or try to rain on anybody's parade here, but this offense has not been great to start off the year as a whole. The run totals by game, 1-7, 5 today, but you were shut out going into extras, and then 3 on Sunday, right? Now, again, the 5 at the end of this game is going to inflate the, season average, obviously, which is great that they ended up putting up 5. But again, they were shut out through 9 innings. And when you go down the lineup card and just look at, who's been hitting well this year and who hasn't been hitting well this year, right? The individual stats aren't fantastic. I'll put it that way. There's a lot of OPSs in the 2s and 3s and 400s. To start off the young season. Now, obviously, those aren't sustainable. I don't think anybody, I'm not trying to jinx anybody here. I don't think anyone's getting the season with an OPS in the 300s. But we're 4-0. We're 4-0. And we're going to take that. I'm not hitting the panic button. I'm not saying that at the end of the day, we've played 4 games and we've won them all. I'm not trying to induce panic into the fan base or anything, but you've been bailed out by really good pitching, and the offense has still gotten off to a slow start. The team just hasn't gotten off to a slow start, and those are 2 very different things. This offense has not been great early, and this game was no different. Thank goodness for Carson Kelly and extras, and some really spotty defense by the New York Mets as well. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's get into a couple more things that I think went wrong in this game, a little bit more specific than just offense as a whole. And then we will get into stuff. Okay. We will do all of that right after this. Going to talk to y'all today about our friends over at FanDuel. The sports calendar is loaded this time of year. Monday night was one of the coolest nights for sports ever. Not only did you have the Red Wings playing, big win for the Wings. You can go listen to Brian and I talk about that at Locked On Wings. Obviously, the Tigers stay undefeated, and one of the best nights in women's college basketball history. Just fantastic matchups all across the board. Absolutely fantastic night for sports, and you can get in on all of the action this packed time of year at FanDuel, because right now new customers can get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200. You can bet on the tourney, MLB, NBA, NHL, and so much more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a big win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Yeah, so getting a little more specific here with just like offense struggled or whatnot. Torkelson and Green specifically, 0 for 7 with a walk combined between the two of them. Green had the walk. Torkelson is just an absolute pop-up machine right now. When we talked about that here in spring training, right, we were talking about how, oh my goodness, he is popping up literally everything, especially in the second half of spring. And that has carried over into the regular season. An adjustment has to be made. This is not a, oh my goodness, like, calm down, small sample size, whatever. That is clearly something in the swing. This is preposterous. Every single hit is a pop-up, and it's getting ridiculous, to quote DeMarcus Cousins. So I think that is something that clearly an adjustment needs to be made, needs to talk with some coaches and fix something within his swing. I mean, game of inches, right? Some minor thing different that he was doing, that he wasn't doing last year and clearly has been doing to start off the season this year. Riley Green, outside of the home run against Chicago, hasn't really been fantastic this year either. Still needs to work on lifting the baseball. I think his at-bats really in general, to be honest, in this Mets game were not too fantastic outside of the walk, obviously. So, yeah, when we talk about the offense is struggling, what needs to happen to fix that? Your two best players need to hit. Rocket science. I know it's a crazy concept, and it might be hard for some people to grasp. But that your two best, the guys who are supposed to be your two best players, your two best hitters, should probably hit well if you want your offense to be a sustained thing. And I'm not worried about them long term. Obviously, they're not going to end the season with OPSs in the 300s and 400s. Not trying to hit the panic button on anything. This team is 4-0. We're going to take it while we can. However, both of them have gotten off to really rough starts on the season. And if this offense is going to turn around and start scoring more, and you are going to have to bail out your pitching at some point, that is going to have to come via those two heating up. So hopefully that can happen immediately the rest of the week, I guess. 12 strikeouts, 3 walks on the team approach. Not great. Some timely walks, which was nice to see, but yeah, just got absolutely diced by Sean Manaea. Props to him, by the way. Went to drive line. The velo ticked up in a big way for him. Want to give him a ton of credit. He's really tough against lefties as well, which is why they went righty heavy, clearly. But yeah, he looked fantastic, right? I don't want to just make it sound like this is all the Tigers just sucked and that's all there is to it. Manaea was hitting spots. He was painting. He looked really, really good, was executing his fastball beautifully, just consistently on the black all game. Want to give him a ton of credit. Let's talk stuff. Okay. This is, again, creative genius for a segment name, but just other stuff that happened in this ball game. Javi was making some impactful this season, has been a part of some impactful moments in ball games. We talked about on opening day, obviously, but in this game had a timely hit as well, sack fly as well. his numbers are terrible. Like he has 364 OPS. I'm not trying to convince you that this dude is worth the money. Okay, every single time you say anything good about Javi, 50 people are just like, oh, like how can you like? Oh, it's not 100% terrible. Okay, like there are obviously. Again, we talked about opening day. He scored the only run in that game. Like it is possible to say something, decent about him sometimes. I promise. But yeah, 2 strikeouts, still swings at balls in the other batter's box. That's not going away. His offensive numbers on the season are still awful, et cetera, et cetera. All the caveats you want to put at it so you don't get mad at me. But that's now 2 of 4 games on the season where he has made an impact in the game and directly affected the outcome of the game. So, if you're going to be one of the worst hitters in baseball and we have to hide you at the bottom of the lineup and whatnot, I guess the least we can expect is every once in a while to make a big play contributing to a win. Is it going to be consistent? Probably not. Do I think that it justifies anything about the Javi experience so far? Absolutely not. Okay, so take a deep breath, but just something noteworthy here in the first 4 games of the season. Shelby Miller was fine again. I don't know. We've seen him a lot already in the season. He hasn't looked bad. It's interesting for a guy that was so successful last season with the splitter. We saw it a couple of times in this game. We haven't seen the splitter a boatload on the season. And I'm not sure his fastball is good enough to just like kind of rear back and let that baby ride consistently. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't think he looks bad, and he's putting up zeros and he's going out there. He's giving up a lot of kind of fly balls. I think that he could be a pitcher that really plays well in Comerica specifically. But not getting too many swings and misses early either. So we'll see how he's used. It wouldn't shock me if he became kind of a first out of the pen type of guy. The Mets certainly fall under just kind of a talking point here. 0-4 on the season. The defense in extra innings was catastrophic. Some of it was just bad luck, like pitcher makes a reactionary move, it bounces out of his glove, whatever. But man, I mean, this is a rough start in Queens. Really, really rough start. So, good luck. Good luck to the Mets. I don't think they're going to be like one of the worst teams in baseball or anything like some personalities will say out there do. But but they have certainly gotten off to a pretty rough start, and especially with all the madness that came out of the Brewers series, just in a nutshell in general. Man, they need to. Their lineup just doesn't look that good. Like you just look at this lineup, for a team that has such a ridiculously high payroll and had a ridiculously higher payroll last year. Like that lineup just isn't scary. And like I'll eat my words, and then we'll give up 92 runs in the next 2 games, whatever. But like genuinely, that is not a fear-inducing lineup, and that's just so wild after all the momentum they had a couple off seasons ago. Just weird. Let's talk Joey Cora, and then we'll move on to previewing the next game. I want everybody's opinion on this. It's very easy in hindsight to just say, well, yeah, obviously you shouldn't have sent him on that play. Another really aggressive send. This one, AJ actually backed and supported and publicly came out and said, like, that's one that I want Joey to do there. So interesting. Take that as you will. It's tough because that's a shutout and you are not able to get any offense going. Brandon Nimmo is a good defender, like out there, but doesn't have a great arm. And so it's tough. If Kelly is Cody Stavenhagen tweeted a picture of the ball in Brandon Nimmo's glove before Carson Kelly was even on third base. He was still walking, like running towards third. So, I mean, it was a step or two, but you get the sentiment. And so I think that's just too much. That's just too far, right? That's overly aggressive. But I do understand being aggressive in that specific situation. At the same time, just given, again, the game flow, you have got no offense going. Force the defense to make a play, a guy that doesn't have a great arm out there. Force that to happen. You have the new blocking rule as well. It's early in the season. Put the pressure on the defense in a game where neither team can get any run scoring. I agree with that mindset and that mentality. It's just that I still think that was probably too aggressive. Like, again, Carson Kelly is not a fast runner and wasn't even on third yet. So that I think is probably a little bit overkill there, but give and take for sure. Situation obviously matters with all those things. Okay, so there you go, 4-0 on the young season. Let's preview the game today as you're listening to this on Tuesday. Obviously, this is Casey Mize's first start in almost 2 years. So many questions, right? How is the fastball going to look? How is the splitter going to look? How is the command on the breaking stuff going to look? How far in the game is he going to go? How much of a leash are we going to give him off rip? There are so many questions. I'm so excited to see him against this, again, Mets lineup that has some good talent, but isn't like one of the best lineups in baseball, certainly either. So you can kind of get, I think it's kind of a perfect mix of competitive, but not that great. So I'm hoping that this game is played, and Scooble will go on Wednesday, assuming that game is played as well. But there's supposed to be a lot of rain over the next 48 hours right over Citi Field in New York. So we will see what happens. If the next 2 games are played, then it's going to be my Scooble. If not, then we'll see what happens. I would imagine they still want to get Mize out there. But again, with another off day on Thursday as well, we could see some reshuffling too. But I would imagine that they want to go one time through the rotation at least, get Mize out there, get him some experience, etc. So we'll see. I hope we play ball. I'm very tired of not having baseball. I kind of want baseball nonstop until October. So I would much prefer if this game is played, but it's not looking like it really will. So we'll see what happens. Okay. Thanks for being Locked On Tigers, your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will be back tomorrow. I think we'll be back. If we're not, then it's just it got rained out and we can push the conversation. Because if we have back-to-back rained outs, then that just sucks. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll kind of play it by ear. Either way, I'll be back at some point this week. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope, and I'll catch y'all then, baby. Go Tigers.